everyone. Welcome back to the Successful Survivors podcast. I'm Chris Chmielewski. I'm the owner, editor, and creator of Foster Focus, and I'm here with the lovely ladies of the Successful Survivor podcast. And today we're talking about victim mentality. This is the second part. In the first part, we identified the problem. We talked about ways to cope, and today we're going to talk about how it affects your daily life, how you can pull yourself out of it, and then we'll hopefully send you away with a positive message that'll help you deal with it if this is something that you're dealing with. Here at the Successful Survivor podcast, we talk about issues that affect people who have had trauma, who have maybe been in foster care or been adopted, or just have had a rough go of it and need somewhere to hear or vent about things that they're dealing with. And again, today we're talking about victim mentality, and it affects you in different ways. It can really impact your day-to-day life. And I think I'd like to start with Dawn, and maybe you can tell us how it takes away from some of the joys of life, or maybe how it can really just impact you day to day, and just take away, like I said, some of the joys that everybody gets.
Thank you, Chris. I think for me, I overanalyze everything. So overanalyzing can be a good thing. It could be a really bad thing. And for me, it's been a bad thing because I'm in my head all the time, but also takes away my confidence to be able to do anything, to be able to talk to someone, to be able to have people be confident also in me. Because I'm asking questions like, oh, do you mind if I do that? I think I can do that. No, I can do that. I have that in my head. But on the outside, I'm not showing the confidence that I know I can do something. I'm lacking it because of this victim mentality, because I've not taken the time to self-reflect and be aware that I'm in a victim mentality and taking the time to do that. That's what it's been for me. It's taken my confidence away, and it's been taking confidence away from people having confidence in me.
And that can be really tough to deal with. Now, someone who I feel doesn't have a problem with confidence and likes fives and likes to have her ducks in a row is Diana. Diana, besides a lack of confidence, what other aspects of life can having a victim mentality affect?
Brain cells. Bottom line, brain cells. It's, when you're going through the trauma and you're in the fat middle of it, you want to self-medicate. When you self-medicate, you lose brain cells. If you lose brain cells, you can't have a productive day. You're not being productive in your friendships, your relationships with family, your professional work life. Maybe you're not putting out your best work that you should be doing. So work performance. So yeah, it's brain cells, man. It robs you of the very core that makes you be able to get up, get out of bed, and move forward.
That's a great point. Lee, you're someone who is depended upon by a lot of people for what you do. For those of you who don't know, Lee runs what's called the Foster Care Closet, and they provide clothes to kids who come into foster care. It's a great organization. You should definitely look into it. Now, Lee, if you're having a day where everything's going wrong and you've got that victim mentality, what parts of your life is that affecting? How do you? I mean, what is that taking away from what you have to do?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it. All of us interact with others, and so it isn't just that we're robbing ourselves from what we really are capable of doing or accomplishing, but it's also robbing others of our gifts and talents, of what we have to bring to the table to help them accomplish great things. And so, yes, I'm fortunate that I get to live out my passion of restoring dignity to kids in crisis. But I have bad days. Unfortunately, I have to pay attention and be focused on not having a difficult time in front of kids who we're trying to serve, because that will rob them of the dignity we want to be so intentional about providing.
That's a great point. I appreciate your perspective there. Now, Rhonda, for those of you, and I'm just giving a little background for those people who just hopped in here, by chance. Rhonda was a successful, very successful insurance provider for child welfare, and she has a big family, and her husband has an important job. Now, Rhonda, besides the work aspect, if you're having a bad day, if you've got this victim mentality, if you've got a bad streak going, how do you what does that do to the family life?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm connected to a very large extended family. I'm married into a big family. And I would kind of where I would go with this is that, and it relates to family and friends and neighbors and coworkers and whoever, that when we're in a victim mentality, at least for me, I know that I've lost opportunities. And I think when we walk around with that feeling, like Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh, like, poor me, everything bad happens to me. That was how my victim mentality manifested. I just literally saw every single thing that happened as it happened to me. If somebody cut me off in traffic, they cut me off in traffic. It was just like, it only happened to me. There was this cloud and rain always pouring on me. And I know that I lost opportunities because of that. Because, the reality is, people they choose to be around people who make them feel good, who make them feel better, who light up the room. We all like that. When somebody comes into the room and they acknowledge you and you feel seen and you feel heard, that's what people want. and that's what a lot of people need. And so I realized that I was left out of a lot of stuff. I mean, just simple stuff. This is when I figured it out. It was before I opened my business, and I realized that none of the other ladies in the office ever invited me. There were bridal showers, there were baby showers, there was, let's go out to lunch. Oh, let's go on Saturday and go do this. I was never, ever invited. And I realized later it's because I was just such a sad sack, just dragging around all the time. And I decided I wasn't going to be like that anymore. Instead of expecting somebody to come up to me and see me and hear me and make me feel better, that I would be the one who would walk into the room or go next door in the new neighborhood or go to the next cubicle to the, next coworker or whatever. And I would be the one who would see other people and really make other people feel valuable. So I flipped it. That's how I perceive it.
And that's a great point. And before we get to Amber and the clinical part of this, I said in the last episode, I'm brand new to this victim mentality thing. I've never let my trauma or my background affect my life in any way. I was a car salesman. I heard no 1,000 times a day. With the magazine, I hear no 1,000 times a day. I never let it bother me until the divorce, and now everything is every no hurts. To speak to what Rhonda just said, self-isolation. I mean, I'm sure Amber's going to speak about this, but self-isolation seems to be my thing. I don't want to be around people. This is all paralyzing for me. I'm losing a ton of money. I'm sure there's opportunities for me to work. I just stuck in this funk, and it's very difficult. I'm so excited for the next part of this segment where I let you ladies loose and you tell me how to get out of this, because I am sick of being here. And now I am also very excited to hear the clinical part of this, because that's the part feelings are one thing, but people have studied this, and it's important to hear what they've learned. And we've got us an ace in the hole with Amber, who has also studied this. So I'm excited to hear what Amber has to say. Amber, we've heard from Lee and Diana and Dawn and Rhonda about how it affects different parts of our lives, our business, our family, our confidence. What say you? What does the great book of social workers have to say about this subject?
I think what it has to say is that it's not black and white. That's why we all had an answer to it. It's different. You actually said this, I think, in the last broadcast, that the way it shows is different in each person because we determine things differently. So what I say about it is victimization, or taking the victim mindset, is when we begin to personalize everything. And visually, what is a big world around us feels smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, till all we see is ourself in context, everything around us. And so victim mentality is really a way of thinking that takes blame from everything around us and doesn't give the worth of us being able to have power around from those things around us. We feel powerless in context to how everybody else is being or doing. We don't feel like we can do anything to something. It's a mindset that's, you have to change the mindset, and it's detrimental to our personal relationships, how we treat ourselves. That's when we start getting into coping skills that maybe aren't healthy, how we treat other people. It gives us a lack of accountability, which I will kind of touch in when we go into the next section. Self-esteem, we begin to feel worse about ourselves, and we actually criticize ourselves. I know when I get into a victim mentality frame of thinking, and especially as a child, is I would reinforce some of those negative beliefs that I would hear, like, you're not worth it, you're not worth it, or you failed that, or you see, they told you would screw that up and you did. And just negative reinforcement in ourselves, and we get lost in that. And then when that happens, we're not in a mindset to cope with challenges. My motto is that life is tough, but so are you. When you're in a negative mindset, we aren't equipped to cope with challenges because we don't feel like we're tough. We don't have that belief that we can manage it. And so I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but that's kind of my context of being in the victim mentality and how it can limit us.
Well, it definitely helps. But before I let you get off the hook, I do want to help the people that are out there. We are not crazy. When stuff that goes wrong and things go bad, it's natural to fall into a victim mentality. Is that right? It's not. There's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong with it. It's nothing wrong with the person that it's happening to. It's natural. It happens. It's inescapable.
I don't know if I would say the word inescapable, because it is escapable, if you will, but it is a part of life. Is we go through phases or cycles where things are tough, and going into a victim mentality, like I said in the first one, it doesn't mean we're bad people. It doesn't mean we failed, and it doesn't mean we can't come out of it.
Okay, well then you're the perfect person to start us off with. I'm sick of feeling this way, ladies. I'm done. I want to smile again. Hit me if it's escapable. All right, Amber, let's start escaping. What's the first step? Where do we go?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not gender specific. Male and female struggle with it. Second of all, it's not escapable. And I'm saying this all from my personal opinion, is also my clinical opinion, is we don't get over things, we work through them. That's a whole different context. We can't avoid everything, otherwise we're going to come back to it. So making sure we have that mindset that acknowledges this is tough. This sucks. I don't like it. You have to allow yourself that frustration, but maybe even limit the amount of time that you do. 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day, and then I'm getting my butt up and I'm going to go do something. And you write it down and you force yourself to do that. You have an accountability. In my book, I talk about ways to find hope. One of those is having connections, having people who will hold you accountable. Like I said, I don't want to hear, oh, poor, pitiful you, of what you've gone through. My people are people that are going to say, I love you. I know this sucks and it's hard. By the way, you're getting up and you're going outside with me to get some sunlight and some vitamin D during this season. Okay. They're going to hold me accountable in a loving, loving way. Some people do this in very different ways. Some of us are actually, what we do is it's cold turkey. I've been a victim and this sucks. And as of today, I'm not anymore. And they quit it cold turkey. You can do that. People can do that. If that's your personality, do that. Write it down, make that declaration. I'm going to put one positive thought every day. That doesn't mean life's positive. Life might still suck, but your mindset can be shifted to positive. Being careful with your words. I already know I'm struggling with this, but tell me how to fix it. Or I already know I'm struggling with this, but I need you to reinforce my negativity. Have somebody that's going to call you out on that. You already said you're struggling. So what do you want to do about it? Do you want to stay where you're struggling instead of throwing the blame on other people? Those are for the ones who maybe aren't going to quit cold turkey, or maybe those who are. And if you see somebody making an excuse, challenge their excuse. This is a really, really tough thing. My parents sucked. I didn't have good worth. They've never forgiven me or apologized. I understand and I hear that that's challenging. What can you do about it now? Do you want that affect you now? What can you change about this now? How do you parent now? Give them power in the here and now instead of always sitting in the past. That's really, really important in the mindset. It's not diminishing or dismissing what's happened in the past, but it's saying you still have power here and now. Those are more of the ones that you might refer to therapy. You might have a friend of accountability. You might write a goal down, but they may not be so much the cold turkey people. Each of us have different skills, and whichever your friend is, whichever maybe you are, be okay with that. Real quick, 2 other little things I would say. I do actually have my mirror with me. I do this a lot, called a mirror activity. Whatever you would say to a friend who said what you just said, say it to yourself. Would you say that to yourself? And then the other one that I would say is, Dawn brought it up in the last speaking event, I think, was the stigma of people that are above you or older than you, that you should be a certain way, or I'm not as good as these other people, like teachers or professionals or things like that. Reduce that stigma about how you should be and begin building yourself in confidence in who you are and the gifts that you have and not somebody else. The struggle's real, but guys, so's our life now. So let's carry the struggle and make our life something that's real and powerful.
Great points. Great points. Sleep all day and avoid everyone is what I heard. Dawn, did
I mention, Chris? I'm so sorry. Did I mention anything about dry, avoidant humor, negative humor, unhealthy humor? No, I'm sorry. I wasn't being humorous.
I don't understand. I don't understand any of that. All I heard was tell jokes to push the pain down. Dawn.
Okay, next person. Oh, it's gonna dawn on him anytime, Dawn.
Yes.
Dawn, you're a lot like me. We've got these monsters of motivation over here, but you and I are more, I think, down to earth and not so charged from the inside like the rest of these guys. So how do you deal with it? What do you do when you get down?
Well, I can be charged from the inside. It just depends on if I'm consistent with what charged me in the first place. So right when I leave these podcasts, I am charged. I am like, okay, I got boundaries and I got boundaries. I got this. I've been doing great with boundaries because I've been keeping them. Let me tell you, opportunities have happened and they have been interesting. So with this one, I'm going to be charged. But guess what? The way that we stay charged and how they stay charged, probably, and unless you have other things, is being consistent with being self-reflective, being self-aware, with doing with the things that Amber mentioned. Diana, I love how she's like, girl, come on, no, that's an excuse. Let's do. She will call you out. Don't text her if you don't want to be called out, because she'll do it. But
don't ask if you don't want to know, girl.
And for sure. So I think that's how you stay charged. Like, I can be charged, but I'm learning that I have to be intentional and I have to be consistent with what I know, taking these things that we're talking to you guys about, Chris and our listeners and ourselves, right? We have to practice these things. Practice takes time and effort and work at it. So some people, I mean, maybe you're not naturally as awesome and being able to move forward. Like, you know, Rhonda and Diana, you guys are really great at that. But how long did it take you to get to that? Did you start from the beginning? Did it work up to it? You practice something to get that way. And then once you got there, you're like, oh, I know what I got to do. So I'm going to do it. So that's how you do it. It's being consistent, being intentional. So something else I wanted to add to that is you make the choice. You make the choice. Like, do you like also to reflect? Is your life great? Maybe not. But what are there things that you can do to work on what is not great? There's some things you can't work on, but there are some things that you can. And so for me, I'm just learning that and realizing and recognizing that I need to do the things I can change and things that I can't, leave those alone, but work on the things that I can so that I can be the best version of myself, because I am sick of myself at sometimes. I bring all the shame on myself. I personalize everything, like Amber was talking about before. Don't do that. If you know you do that, flip it. Rhonda talked about that. Diana talked about it. We have to flip things. And so taking these things like this podcast really helped me just as much as how it's going to help you, Chris, and our listeners. I deal with this, and it's been heavy, and then I've been good at it, and then I'm back heavy about it again. And this realization I had today, take our realizations, take our self-awareness, take our reflection, and keep doing it. Don't stop doing it because, oh man, this sucks. It hurts. It's hard. You know, and like Amber said, you know, find someone to connect with, you know, a therapist if you need to. I had this tribe, so I mean, I text them almost every other day, like, hey, blah, 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 you know, and sometimes they're like, oh, Dawn, we're praying for you. Dawn, get up off the, walk 10 minutes a day. Diana's always telling me, right? So that's what I would have to say is just be consistent and make a choice to be consistent, be reflective, be aware, and continue to do that thing that charges you, because that's what's going to get you out of it. And maybe you got to continue to do it. But at some point, it will become easier. And one thing I want to add real quick is I wrote down, starting last year in October, it was a year and ago, about I am enough, because I did not feel that I was. Guys, I literally, when I say that, I don't want to cry anymore. Like, I literally think that is ingrained in me. I still write it as one of my gratitude things that I write during the day, our affirmations. So it does work, but you have to practice it. You have to be consistent.
Well, there you go. It's all about choice. And Dawn has a fire in her belly, and she doesn't like it when you point out that it's not out in the open. Sorry, Dawn. Maybe it's a presentation thing, because the next three people that are going to talk wake up with fire coming out of their mouths. It feels like, and it's tough. It's tough when you're around those type of people to feel like you measure up with you know. I put forth a lot of effort, but then you see the next three people talking, and then you feel like you're not doing enough. I wake up every day and I put in my 20 hours of work, and then you look over and Lee is clothed and bathed 45,000 kids. So it's tough. So Lee, how do you do it, man? How do you, when things are going wrong, how do you wake up and how do you convince Skechers to give you 30,000 pairs of shoes for nothing? And
Yeah.
how do you strong arm Walmart into giving you a bunch of free clothes that the great kids of Nebraska get to wear when they had nothing before? How do you get it? How do you get it going?
Well, I love what Dawn finished with there. And earlier, she was talking about confidence. And I think when we boil down our struggle, it really is about a lack of confidence. We don't believe whatever it is, right? We don't believe that we're worthy. We don't believe the situation we deserve to be in a positive situation. So Chris, you had specifically said, speak to me. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to speak to you and hope not only that you hear it, but that those who are listening will also walk away with a newfound confidence. And that is, I appreciate you because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You do works that are wonderful, and I know this about you. I want you to take those words to heart. I want you in those moments where you're like, gosh, I just can't seem to get anything right. Yes, you can, simply because you were fearfully and wonderfully created. And because of that, you have so much to offer, not only to me, but to our entire foster care and child welfare communities through your magazine. And if you aren't there to give that to us, we are missing a huge opportunity to grow, to be involved in others, to do good works ourselves. So I want to encourage you in this time where it is really hard to put one foot in front of the other, where, especially as the breadwinner of the family, you are feeling torn down. You are so much more than a paycheck. You are so much more than the next ad you sell. You are somebody who cannot be replaced in my world or the world of the other 4 ladies on this panel. So I just wanted to get very honest and gritty with you because I care about you. Those words are not void to me. They mean something. And I want you to know that you have a friend at any time, day or night, to call on. There's also a responsibility on my part to be careful with what you share, how you share, the moments you choose to share. It is my responsibility to make sure that you are always dignified as you make yourself vulnerable to get better. And the reality is you do need to make yourself vulnerable to where somebody else has permission that you respect to speak into your life. Somebody who can be physically present in a moment's notice if need be. And so I just really wanted you to know I care about you. And so do these other 4 ladies. And I want you, the next time you're really struggling, I want you to remember that you are so much more than the situation that you're feeling. That you are somebody we cannot replace. And you bring only things you have expertise in to our lives. And you make us better because of it.
All right, insert funny joke here, Diana.
Hey!
Thank you, Lee. Diana, motivational talk. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, what I got. So I would say on first steps is write it down. Every single day, if you've opened your eyes, write down 5 things in that moment that you can be grateful for. Your eyes are open, you can see, you can breathe, you can stand up, you can physically walk, and then throw in a 5th one. I can go get coffee, whatever. 5 things you're grateful for, that immediately will start to release some good stuff, some dopamine or serotonin or what is it? The letters lady will tell me, but it releases the good stuff.
Endorphins.
Endorphins, there you go. I feel like there's dopamine in there somewhere. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. I'm right. Yay. Okay. The second thing
That is correct.
part of it, practicing self-care is, I mean, part of getting your attitude right for the day and trying to crawl out of the hole is doing something for yourself. And that might be, you know, you listen to podcasts all the time. I love me some Joe Rogan. He's simple, he's direct, he's funny, and he knows his shit. Bottom line, I love me some Joe Rogan. But what's great, I have a software update coming up on my computer. No, cancel, hold please. I'm in the middle of a thing. Anyhow, so, but some of the self-care, and you know, Dawn will tell you what I've said. Walk outside for 10 minutes. Put on a coat. It's cold out there. I get it. But walk outside for 10 minutes. You know what's funny about fitness? There's a new thing. Obviously, it's a new thing, but it's called cold plunge. It's been around forever. It's not new at all. But one of the things that a cold plunge does that you might actually want to start implementing, because it improves circulation, reduce inflammation and muscle soreness, blah, 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 boosted immune system. But the number one thing it really does is it enhances your mood immediately. It releases a ton of endorphins. They are mood boosting hormones. And that potentially right there, not potentially, it will reduce stress and it helps your mental well-being. I mean, these are just like little things. I mean, I always say my 5 things are, you know, faith, you know, do your gratitude thing. Thank God for the day you woke up, all of the things, right? I can still breathe and I can still make the money for the family if I need to do whatever you need to do, whatever your responsibilities are, the work, etc. But that's your first thing, is that faith in yourself that you can get up. 2, family. Call some family members. If you don't want to talk to your family, call your friends. We're your friends. Lee just demonstrated that right there. I already said fitness, funny. You are already funny. I always go to a funny thing. You watch something funny. Robin Williams was probably one of the most he was in so much pain, but one of the funniest people ever. Just watch something funny that's going to help you get your mood going. I mean, honestly, that one is just huge. So, I think I said all the 5, which is faith, family, friends, fitness, funny. Those are really all the things that I did. And it sounds, I did a version of every single one of those things starting from scratch. The developing your network thing, the talking to people, you know, encouragement from a therapist. You know, you might have to go through a few because a lot of them are the couch people and they get on your nerves. Go through a few, find someone that you actually vibe with. It's like, that comes in and says, shut up, just let's get up, let's get to work. You know what I mean? That tells you, so you don't wallow in your own shit. You know what I mean? It's, that's what I want to say. Oh, hey, listen, you had to.
Rhonda?
I'm just saying, it is what it is. Also, last point, there's an app, and I'm telling you, I downloaded this app. It's called I Am. You can flip through it. I am a kind and thoughtful person. I let go of negative feelings holding me back. I love the person I see when I look in the mirror. Do some mirror exercises that Amber said. That's what I would say to anybody who's listening. But that app, you just flip through them and start telling yourself these things. You will feel enhanced, that mood for the moment. Even if it's for 5 minutes, use the 5 minutes. Positive moves.
Man, do you love the number 5? Good Lord.
I know. 4 is my actual favorite number.
I cannot believe you swore in front of Rhonda.
Give her a high 5.
I tried the mirror exercise, and now I have 14 years bad luck.
If you would listen to the other podcast, you would hear some of that.
And not for nothing, I'm using the I Am app, and it says I am poor. I don't know what that means. Now, Rhonda, don't make me cry like Lee. And you do not need to speak directly to my situation. However, you're one of the best motivators I've ever met in my life. And you are a highly sought after motivational speaker. You do this for a living. This is not the time to drop the ball. Hit these folks with some great inspiration on how they can drop this victim mentality and live a fuller life.
Oh, Chris. Okay. So I don't know if it's a great idea for me to be like a fire hose right now about this. I mean, I've actually had people tell me that listening to me was like trying to take a sip of water out of a fire hose, fire hydrant. So I don't want to do that, because when somebody's actually in that muck and mire that follows being victimized, I think probably the last thing I would have wanted to hear is somebody try to, give me a shot of motivation when I'm just really hurting. And so I'm going to come at it from a little bit different place here, largely because Amber's right beside me here, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to. I'm aware of the fact that successful survivors can, with our words and actions, harm people as much as we can help people. Because if I'm too much of a Pollyanna, like everything's great, just open your eyes and see that everything's so great, and if you can't open your eyes and see that everything's great, then you feel worse than you did to begin with. So I want to come at it from the standpoint that I want to acknowledge that, yeah, when stuff happens, like what you're going through, Chris, you're going through a divorce. I've been through a divorce. I know that it's just really hard, and it is real. When you've been victimized, that event or series of events or being completely immersed in it, it's, ongoing, not just an event, that it just really hurts. So I want to say that coming up out of that is a gradual process. I think for me that it had to do with focusing on myself and my growth. And that probably sounds a little selfish to some people. But it's really not selfish to just take a minute and acknowledge, okay, this is awful. I wish that I didn't have to go through this. Nevertheless, it happened. I can't go back in time. I can't change what has happened. I can start right now today and decide that I'm going to do something different on a going forward basis. So taking a minute to really just acknowledge that the pain is real, you can't change it, but what you can change is this moment and on into the future, and just make a decision that you're going to focus on healing and growth. And I think that the secret sauce to that is relationships. And I don't know about your situation, Chris, but I know that when I've felt victimized, and there are legitimate things that have happened that were not preventable, and stuff just happened. What has helped me are the relationships that I have, and it's not just one. I think I really want to take a minute and emphasize that, because in my past, I latched onto. I had one really good friend who really kind of saved my life when I was 14 years old. And everything was about her. She was like the air that I breathed. And I think that when we rely too much on one person, that's way too much to put on another human being. It's not up to anybody else to keep me happy and keep me fixed and, patch me up every time something bad happens. But I didn't know that then. And God bless her. She was amazing. She never said no. She would listen to me for hours, and she always encouraged me and all that kind of stuff. But I lost her in 2015. She died of breast cancer. And I know what it feels like to lose that person that you have is your lifeline. So in hindsight, I can tell you what I've learned, because I'm older than all y'all, is we don't have to have 100 different people that we're close to and we love, but we have to have more than one. We have to have relationships, good, healthy relationships with good, healthy people, not people who are going to use us and abuse us. And, they're there when they feel like being there, and then they're not the rest of the time, or they want something from us. They want to use us. Let us, I can be friendly with those kinds of people without being friends, really, like without being close. I'll be friendly. I'll be kind. I'll be as loving as I can be. But the people I go to when I feel like I've been victimized and forget feeling like I have been victimized, something's happened, it's those people who get us through. So I just want to take a second, like you, Lee, and say, Chris, just speaking directly to you and speaking to everybody who's listening, who's going through, I'll just say it, a shitstorm right now, or your whole life has been a shitstorm. Chris, what you're doing right now, you joined us. You're here. You have relationships with each of us. Different relationships. We're all, different people and whatever. But I think it's having those relationships where we have support from others that helps us do the next thing. And the last thing I'm going to say, it's so important for us to reframe our negative thoughts, because survivors of childhood trauma, I know me anyway, I would automatically go to, well, of course this happened to me, because shit just happens to me. I need to get the yellow slicker, like the fish stick guy, guy on the fish stick package, because shit just flies all over me. It's always bad. And, if anything bad's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. That's one of the things I said. And if I have any luck at all, it's bad luck. I always said that. And I think, okay, it's the good people in your life. If you've tried to have those relationships, you try to nurture those relationships, it's a real person in your life who will go, really, Rhonda? Every single thing that happens is bad? And there's that accountability that Amber's talking about. And we have to give people permission to be honest with us and to be real with us. And then, wait, I lied. That wasn't the last thing. One last thing. We have to not compare our lives to the lives of other people who didn't get abandoned, who didn't get abused, who weren't neglected, who weren't screamed at, who weren't sexually abused, who weren't, who didn't go through all of the stuff that you went through. Because comparing, I'll just tell you, it's not good. It's not healthy for you. Your road that you're on is your road that you're on. And to compare to the person who had a wonderful, fabulous family and a nice, safe home, and it was warm and they had food and, and all that, that's going to not get you anywhere. So stop, because you can't change it, but you can change from right here forward and just decide, okay, I was victimized, but I'm not going to stay a victim. And you go from victim to survivor. The survivor mentality keeps you from being a victim in the future, because you just decide, no matter what happens, I'm going to make it, because that's what I do. I'm a survivor and I make it. I will crawl out of any rubble that I ever find myself in. And then from survivor, you go to successful survivor, which means that when you have reached some kind of level in your life where you are okay, you turn around and you help other people. Successful survivors always, that's how you know they're successful survivors. They always reach around and look around and pick up on who has been through some hard stuff, and they try to help. And that's it. That's what I think we need to do.
Well, wow. Holy Hannah. I mean, unexpected. Lee made me cry. Everybody else motivated me. What I found with this new mentality is I have a disposition to make a lot of excuses, and having you 5 ladies in my life makes it difficult to make excuses. Just in putting this podcast together, computers crashed and phones had to be turned on. All sorts of bad things happened, but it all worked itself out. I think the general message that we can give to everyone is that it will get better. You're not crazy. When bad things happen, it's natural to feel as a victim, and there are ways to pull yourself out. I really hope you enjoyed this. I think you've got 5 great perspectives on this issue. A very handsome host. You've talked to a bunch of successful survivors. On behalf of Amber Jewel, Don Windle, Diana Mosher, Leah Sow, and Rhonda Shortino, I'm Christian Leski. Thanks for watching Successful Survivors. We'll see you the next time.
Bye.
Bye.